Hey, it's Kevin. I just finished watching the inauguration for 2017, saw Mr. President Donald Trump sworn in. I noticed really a grand theme that seems to be recurrent throughout this entire election cycle, and it goes from the United States internally and it transcends all the way to the global scene externally. We are seeing a total shift in geopolitical landscapes everywhere. Domestically, we're seeing it here in terms of the Democrats and the Republicans. Really, both parties have failed the American people. They've degenerated into identity politics and really lost touch with the common working person in the United States of America. If you take a look at the congressional approval ratings from 2016, you'll see that neither party has any kind of real resonance with the American people. And aside from huge towering figures such as President Obama and President Trump, who do resonate with people, most of these politicians seem to be completely out of touch with America. So, what we're seeing here is both of those parties not fitting the needs of America in the 21st century. The rhetoric may have shifted, but they're not really addressing the core problems that we're facing in this century, hence the upheaval we see with President Trump. It remains to be seen whether or not President Trump is going to follow through on what he says he's going to do. I personally think he will, but the larger point that this is addressing is just the instability as far as politics within the United States. The forms that we've seen work basically for 60, 70 years are falling apart. And so you see this polarization deepening internally in America. What's interesting is this instability is not just in the United States. It's also geopolitically all over the world right now. We're seeing these alliances that have held for 60, 70 years start to fall apart. So in general, the global scene from top to bottom is one of very unsteady temperament. What I find to be fascinating is that I think this is going to be sorted out, though, on both levels in the next few years. Speaking of the international scene, we've had this UN Security Council that's been going strong for about 70 years now, post-World War II, where you have the US, Russia, China, Britain, and France, basically the powers that survived World War II more or less intact, if not outright victorious, running the show in a general sense. In the Cold War, it really came down to the big two, the United States and the Soviet Union. Post-Cold War, it was more of a unipolar world with the United States sitting on top. As it stands now in 2017, the alliances that more or less held throughout the back half of the 20th century have really started to disintegrate now. You see NATO really not being as effective as it could be, really having a lot of mission creep, not really having a core mission in mind, not adapting to the Islamic terror threat. As a result, many are questioning why NATO even exists right now. I think internationally what you're going to see is more of a fluid situation develop, where instead of a bipolar world of the US and the Soviet Union, or a unipolar world with just the US on top, you're going to see major powers emerge and start making deals with one another. So you're going to have the United States and Russia making deals. You'll have India emerging and cutting their own deals. Brazil, China, Japan, Great Britain, Germany. You're going to have these power blocks start to increase and make their own side deals with one another. Now, as far as how gelatinous these deals and these situations will be, I don't know. But I do see that multipolar world starting to develop. I think one of the first deals you're going to see being made is between the United States and Russia. That's going to be what I believe to be some sort of grand bargain, or an all-encompassing agreement that's going to take into account military, economics, environmental, space exploration, trade, etc., etc. So that's the first thing I'd be on the lookout for. I'd take a close look at China and Japan as well. I think it's very plausible that those two powers may start to get a little closer as we continue our march deeper into the 21st century. Also, keep an eye on India, because in terms of pure population, they're going to overtake China very, very soon. Now, if that translates to economic power directly, I don't know, but I would keep a very close eye on India. Also, the Europeans. We've seen Brexit. We've seen the announcement that it's going to be a hard Brexit. So as far as a European Union goes, we may see a European Union in the future, but it's going to look a little bit different than it looks right now. I think it would look something closer to the Holy Roman Empire that we saw very, very long time ago, hundreds of years ago. Speculation on my part. But what to look out for, generally speaking, is a shift in this global scene where you're going to start seeing things happening that we have not seen in the last 70 years. A lot of fluidity. Domestically, what we've seen is power blocks and identity politics to the extreme for both parties, where you have the Democratic Party reaching out to basically everyone who is not a white male or a Christian in the country. Unfortunately for the Democrats, that strategy did not work out. They got their asses handed to them this last election cycle. So I believe what you're going to see on that front is both parties start to reach out to all sorts of different kinds of people. We've already seen this with Milo and the gay millennial Republicans, the pro-Trump gay Republicans start to really assert themselves. I think as far as the 21st century goes, you're going to see the Democratic Party attempt to reach out to white males again. Now, what form that takes, I don't know. I don't think it'll be successful until after Trump leaves office. So we're looking at least 4, most likely 8 years away before any of that ever takes shape. But if the Democratic Party ever really wants to be anything pertinent again, it's going to have to find a way to reach out to white males. On the flip side, I think you're going to see the Republicans reach out to groups they necessarily haven't had much success with recently. That's going to be women. That's going to be the LGBTQ community. That's going to be other different groups of people who they see as maybe more in line with their way of thinking. It's going to be a very interesting 21st century. But as the game of risk in front of you indicates, everything's going to be a little bit more fluid than we've been used to the last 70 years. What that means long term, I don't think anyone really knows. But in the short term, look for a lot of instability and a lot of changing alliances. As far as the inauguration itself, I was very, very impressed with Trump. He stood true to what he said on his campaign. His speech was delivered in a very business-like manner. He was very respectful to all those who came before him. So as far as the overall inauguration day experience, I thought it was very positive, something that I was very impressed with. In terms of his first year, I think he's going to be very focused on healthcare and the wall. And then the third aspect will most likely be jobs. And you're already seeing some movement there. So wrapping up 21st century, what we're seeing here, this inauguration portends a lot of shifting alliances, both globally and within the United States. This is something to look out for and be aware of. As far as the international scene, again, the first thing to look out for is a United States and Russia grand alliance or non-aggression pact of some sort. And then domestically, look for shifting alliances, both parties starting to reach out for people that they've been neglecting for the past 30 to 40 years. Otherwise, that's about it. I hope y'all are having a great time whenever and wherever you're at. God bless you. This is Kevin. I'll talk to you later. Bye.